across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
A very happy new year to you all. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be your host for 3 compelling hours of breaking news, challenging views and dazzling debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Monday, January the 5th, the start of a brand new year. Welcome to the first show of 2026. Here's what's coming up. 2-tier Kia's still here, still promising us jam tomorrow, and still kidding himself he'll be here in 2027. Good luck with that. But boy, is our dear lousy leader in a world of trouble, even by his own low standards. Very deep trouble. His life-sapping New Year speech today parroted that load of old chattering class claptrap that diversity is Britain's strength. Does this cliche-spewing robot really expect us to take that seriously? Because let's face it, multiculturalism isn't exactly delivering widespread happiness and harmony, is it now? 0344 499 1000. On Venezuela, our dithering Prime Minister's only significant comment so far about Trump's extraordinary initiative is that he knew nothing about it and was waiting for Trump's TV press conference to get the facts. Talk about out of the loop. Normal people don't care about international law, mainly because the rules get made up as they go along. But for human rights lawyer Starmer, international law is everything. It is sacred. So is he going to tell us whether he believes international law has been breached? Or is he going to keep quiet for fear of offending Donald? 0344 499 1000. Either way, full of fear, Keir is under intense pressure from the left-wing backbenchers who control him and are currently demanding that he denounces what they call Trump's gangster politics. Wonder what he'll say when the US storms into Greenland. 0344 499 1000. In other bad news for Starmer, his bid to woo the left by cozying up to Brussels and betraying Brexit has also landed him in perilous territory. The Red Wall Labour MPs are furiously warning their spineless boss that he must not rejoin the EU's single market. If he does, they've told him they will lose their marginal seats. If you voted for Brexit, what do you think about this shape-shifting Downing Street loser who doesn't seem to care about the nation's democratic decision to leave Europe? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, as the government announces cross-channel migrants will have their mobile phones confiscated, and we all wonder why this didn't happen years ago, the French farce grows more sickeningly laughable by the day, while the gendarmes' spectacular failure to stop the boats continues apace. With cops standing and looking as the small boat sets sail for the UK, the French authorities have suddenly been galvanised into action by the British vigilantes who have been travelling to northern France to take the law into their own hands. So while the French police just watch the migrants commence their voyage to the promised land, they're pledging to crack down hard on the Brits who actually want to do something about this escalating crisis. Isn't that special? 0344 499 1000. Plus, more green hypocrisy as official figures reveal that Nut Zero Secretary Crazy Ed Miliband and his caring, sharing team have flown the equivalent of 6 times around the world, leaving a carbon emission trail to literally die for. Since Labour was elected, Ed himself has clocked up a staggering 50,000 air miles on planet-destroying trips to faraway destinations like India, China and Brazil. Going the extra air mile, climate change fanatic Miliband flew to the stupid COP30 fiasco twice. Aren't you sick of these virtue-signalling frauds who tell us, do as I say, not what I do? 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, As it emerges that a record number of mentally ill offenders quietly released from jail go on to kill, I'll talk to the son of a man who was randomly murdered on the streets of Bristol by a psychopath he had never met. And after Jeremy Clarkson let the BBC have it with both barrels, I'll try to find out why the state broadcaster pulled in its worst ever Christmas TV viewing figures. Could it be that following a procession of incompetent scandals that the nation no longer loves Auntie Beeb? 03444991000 plus. As British hate preacher terrorist Abu Hamza launches his latest bid to get out of ADX Florence, the world's most secure jail, where inmates spend 24/7 in solitary confinement, I'll talk to a former prisoner there about life in the lockup and what it's like for the forlorn residents of the penitentiary they call the Alcatraz of the Rockies. And finally, the great Kinsey Schofield on what the next 12 months hold in store for Harry and Meghan. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Monday night together. So let's get going on 2026, and without further ado, really pleased to welcome for this first show of the year our brilliant international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Happy New Year to you, Isabel, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. And in that roundup that you did just there with lots of exciting stories, there was one thing missing.
Okay,
I'm sure we will come to it. Well, many things missing.
Okay, I'm starting the year by getting told off, aren't I? What did I miss?
Well, no, you're not getting told off at all. I'm just thinking that Keir Starmer has had such a lucky break here, because a story that was dominating all the headlines just a few days ago, his absolute fiasco over the Egyptian El Fattah, who he made his top priority to welcome to the UK, has been virtually drowned out by all the global dramas, by the events in Venezuela and, speculation over whether Trump might be about to try and take over Greenland. But I think we shouldn't let him off the hook. And I know that here on this show, we never let Keir Starmer.
Certainly not.
This is just your beginning of what should be a daily reminder that this woeful government made it their top priority to bring a hate-mongering extremist to the UK. There you go, folks.
Yeah, I mean, Alaa Abdel Fattah is an extraordinary story. But you've got Keir Starmer, you've got the Foreign Secretary, Yvette Cooper, saying, I don't know what happened here. Some sort of intelligence breakdown. We didn't know about his dodgy background. We didn't know about all these posts that he'd been making, calling for the death of Jews, these definite hate, racially incited posts. We didn't know about that. Everybody else did. I mean, it's standard practice, isn't it? Before you talk about anybody or you talk to anybody these days, you Google them. Neither Starmer nor Cooper nor anyone in this useless government thought to do that. And Alaa Abdel Fattah is now here and probably ensconced, thanks to this useless Prime Minister and his incredible incompetence. But I did feel it was fun, in a way, to watch him squirm after Trump's people stormed into Venezuela, that extraordinary initiative over the weekend. Now, here's my point, my position on this. Like all normal people, like a sort of ordinary citizen of this world, indeed of this country, I don't give a flying damn about international law. I couldn't care less about it. I'll tell you why. It's because there's no such thing, really. They make up the rules as they go on. International law is what the most powerful nations on the earth, on the face of the planet, want at any given time. Whatever's expedient to America, Britain, France, all the big wigs in the world, international law will be in their favour. It is a shape-shifting, movable, vile feast. It's a joke. Nobody, no normal people, give a damn about international law. It's a sort of a fetish, a kind of private club fetish for pompous politicians who live in their own closeted world. So I don't care what Trump did. I'm sort of feeling I rather like it. I don't see why Maduro and his awful wife should get away with what they were getting away with. I quite like America saying, listen, we're the most powerful country on earth and we're going to act like it. I quite like that. I do fear that going forward in Venezuela, there may be some bad headlines in store for Donald Trump because, regime change is one thing. What happens next is another thing. All of that said, so that's my view. I think good luck to Donald Trump. We'll see what happens. I've got my misgivings, but good luck to him. I like a man of action. God, we could do with a man of action. So I don't care about international law because I'm a normal person. I'm sure you don't either. But Keir Starmer, it is everything. It is sacred to him. Him and his useless, gormless cretin of a mate, Richard Hermer, the Attorney General. International law. It's all they ever go on about. And we're all going, what exactly the hell is international law? We don't even know what it is. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a load of sort of nebulous claptrap that idiots in Westminster obsess on and the rest of us don't care about. So good luck to Donald Trump. I think he could be in trouble, but good luck to him for what he did. He's arrested a clear sort of drug dealer, and his wife's even worse than Maduro, Cecilia, terrible woman. You know when after they got married, the Maduros, she appointed to the government 40 of her family members. 40.
Oh
These two are as corrupt as the day is long. So they will get their just desserts in America. So we don't care. But it really matters to Keir Starmer. And I think what is extraordinary is here we are, 3 days after it happened, and he has still not told us whether he believes international law has been breached. He has still not given us his learned human rights lawyer opinion on what happened in Venezuela, and I suspect he never will, because although privately, make no mistake, this Prime Minister believes firmly, so does Yvette Cooper, so do all those lefties in the Labour government, they believe firmly that international law has been broken. I suspect that the Prime Minister won't have the guts to say anything because he doesn't want to offend Donald, right?
Oh, 100%. It's quite delicious to watch this, isn't it? I mean, privately, he will be absolutely horrified, as will the Foreign Secretary and all the Starmerites. This is just not their way of doing things. And if anything has brought international law into total gross disrepute, it is this government's failure to deal with the Channel migrants, and that is all down to international law and their obsession with that. Like you, I don't give a monkey's what some distant treaty that no one really understands says about who we can and can't have in our country. That's what a country is. It's a country defined by borders and the ability to control who comes in and who goes out. So I don't think most people do give a monkeys for any of that. But as you say, Keir Starmer certainly does, and the people around him certainly do, and they will be horrified by what's happened and terrified by what might be about to come. But Starmer fancies himself as a bit of a mate of Donald Trump's. I mean, more unlikely a pairing none of us could probably imagine. But Trump has indulged him, hasn't he? And Starmer's sort of not messed it up as spectacularly as he messes most things up. And so that relationship is at least cordial. And he won't want to become a kind of Sadiq Khan figure in Donald Trump's eyes. He watches pretty much every week as Trump says what a terrible mayor Sadiq Khan is, and is thankful that ire is not being directed at him. So I imagine he's just going to try and ride this one out like he rides everything out.
Which will beg the question, what will he say when Trump invades Greenland? What will he say when Trump invades Colombia? I mean, that's why I do think usually these stories that happen a long way away in countries that people have never been to, you think, well, that's not that interesting to the people of Britain. But I do think this story is interesting because I think Trump is dramatically changing the dial on American foreign policy. And he's saying, look, if countries near us are mismanaged and allow themselves to be brought under very serious Russian and Chinese influence, which is exactly what Venezuela has allowed itself to be affected by. America is saying, well, we're not going to let that happen. We just won't let it happen. So right now, today, all of a sudden, Cuba is no longer getting any Venezuelan oil. I think it's a really interesting sort of statement by Trump about the way America is going to conduct itself in the future. No more sort of Biden hiding in the wings. America is going to bang the drum and say, we are the most powerful nation on the face of the earth, and we are going to get what we want.
And it's such a different way of doing things, isn't it? So I agree with you. You know, most people probably struggle to put Venezuela precisely on the map, you know, roughly where it is. But, you know, very few of us have been there, know anyone from there, know much about Venezuela. But the idea that a US president can operate this unconventionally, you know, this wasn't any kind of war. I mean, he just basically sent stormtroopers in and they snatched the guy, took him out, and he faces trial and now in the US, and they've installed someone that they think will be more favorable. I mean, when was the last time that happened without, you know, loads of hand wringing at the UN and attempts to get resolutions and, you know, disappointments as votes aren't passed and so on? He's just kind of gone for it. And it completely changes the whole game, doesn't it? I think Cuba is a much more likely next target than
I agree with
Greenland.
you.
I mean, Greenland, that it's pretty spiky, isn't it? I mean, he loves to give the rhetoric, but will that actually happen? I don't know. But Cuba is a very much more obvious target.
There's also made noises that if Denmark, which of course governs Greenland, kicks up about this, that America will take on Denmark as well. So they'll be charging into Copenhagen. I think that's something of a long shot, but it is discombobulating, I think, for the international community that we have a president who's acting in a way that no president ever has before. You know, not telling Congress and just saying, well, if I'd have told Congress, the secret would have got out. So he's essentially empowered himself to just go round. I mean, he said it's not declaring war on Venezuela, but it was an invasion. They took over the country. By the way, with only 5,000 troops. They needed 160,000 in Iraq when they took over Iraq. So a very small number of troops, very small number of people. I do think Trump going forward, though, is going to find that just going into Caracas and saying, we're now running Venezuela, that's a cool thing to say, but the reality of we are running Venezuela, I think, is going to prove to be very difficult terrain indeed.
I'm sure that's right. And I mean, I'm sure and hope that they have done plenty of planning for what happens after these early days. But we know the history of this is not a good one. And you know, like you, I kind of instinctively admire it, but equally we know that it could all go horribly wrong. And it just has such seismic implications for the whole way things are conducted. You know, in the UK, David Cameron set a very dangerous precedent by trying to ask the House of Commons if he could do certain things, and then finding it's a lot more difficult than, you know, if you put things out to consultation, they become much more difficult to actually implement. And Trump has just bypassed all of that. He's just gone for it. And
yeah, he's changed the rules, and he's also talking about Colombia as well. As you say, maybe Greenland, maybe Denmark. But, you know, we should take this very seriously. It's a very serious change of course for international politics. But you can't, as you pointed out, Isabel, you can't help quite enjoying how much Starmer is squirming about this. He wants to say, this is a disgraceful breach of international law and must be deplored and condemned in the strongest possible terms. But he can't can't do it because he can't bring himself to offend Donald Trump. It's an interesting situation, but I think going forward he's going to have to say something before too long. But as yet, he hasn't said a damn thing. Let's go to break now. When we come back, we'll talk about his other sort of New Year initiative, old Keir Starmer, and that is he's cozying up even closer to the EU, to Brussels, and people say he's on the cusp of a serious Brexit betrayal because he's lurching to the left because he can't get any favour on the right. So let's talk about that when we come back. Stay where you are, folks.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We're still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakshott. Isabel, Keir Starmer. First, let's talk about him edging ever closer to Brexit, refusing to deny to Laura Kuenssberg on the BBC that he won't perhaps even go as far as not rejoining the customs union. So he might rejoin the single market, which will be the end of Brexit. He's actually saying that, which is extraordinary. But before we get to that, he made his New Year's speech today, in which he trolled out that tired old chattering class cliche. The King's very keen on this as well, that diversity is Britain's strength. Let's have a quick watch.
The next election is going to be about a question of what is it to be British? And I believe to be British is to be compassionate, reasonable, live and let live, and diverse. And I am proud to serve our diverse country and all of its parts. It is British to be diverse.
Why doesn't he just shut up? I mean, does he really think that appeals to people? You know, you know, we all like the idea, you know, the united colours of Benetton, we all live together in perfect harmony, but we are experiencing now in Britain a catastrophic failure, in my view, of multiculturalism. I am in favour of multiculturalism in principle, but we're looking at the reality of it, and it isn't working out well. And for him to stand there today and say, diversity is our strength, the diverse people, you know, it's not what it proves, how far out of touch he is with the people of this country. We're sick of this nonsense. We're sick of being told diversity is our strength, because right now it looks like diversity is our increasing weakness.
I actually think that diversity is our undoing at this point. It is becoming our undoing. And that is a shame, because the principle of it is quite appealing. It depends what you mean by it. You know, if you mean lots of people from lots of different backgrounds and with lots of different heritage and loving different types of people and all of that can all have a happy life in the UK, well, all well and good. But if diversity means that we don't judge anyone for behaving totally inappropriately in a way that is completely out of line with the standards that we have in the UK and that we've always had, the cultural norms, then that's not okay. And where diversity has gone really wrong is that we don't have enough to unify us at the moment. Instead of harping on about diversity, what Keir Starmer should be focusing on are what are the key things that actually bring everybody together. And the real fear is that those things are disintegrating by putting this diversity thing on the altar the whole time. Everything else is being sacrificed, and it just doesn't work. And we can all see that it's not working, apart from apparently Keir Starmer. And if he goes around constituencies outside the M25, if he goes up north and starts going, diversity is our strength, that is the fastest way to him losing a swathe of seats in which normal people will vote for anything but that.
Well, very well said, because it fits in very nicely with his apparent desire to, if possible, go as far as rejoining the single market, the customs single market, which means we'll be back in the EU, having to accept all their laws, rules and regulations. There are millions of laws, rules and regulations, but we'll have no vote at the table. So we'll have to do what we're told, but we won't have any share in the power. He's saying that he may be edging towards that. This is a betrayal of what Labour pledged in its manifesto. They said they wouldn't get any closer to Europe. Well, let's have a look at him droning on about this, shall we?
This 2026 is the year that we're going to be turning a corner where, when we say we want national renewal of the country, and we do, it becomes a reality. And people begin to feel the difference in their pockets, in the ability to pay the bill, and that's why we're saying we're turning the corner into 2026.
Who sets up these appearances by Starmer? Look at that. See that sunshine across his face? Looks like a complete mess. He's so amateurish. But yes, he's been talking about, he said to Laura Kuenssberg, if necessary, he may go as far as rejoining the customs union if he thinks that's good for Britain. He's talking about this year we'll turn the corner, we'll start to feel the benefits of Labour's great policies in our pockets, in our empty pockets, trust me. But if he he's making no bones about it. He's as good as saying, I want us to rejoin the single market. If we don't rejoin the single market, he's saying, I want to go as close as possible to that. That is an outright betrayal of what people in Britain voted for.
It is absolutely stunning in its arrogance, isn't it? You know, 17.4 million people in the UK voted for Brexit, the single biggest democratic mandate of its kind ever in our history. Is he insane to want to take on all those people? Because while some of them may have felt that it hasn't worked out that well, and the reason that it hasn't worked out that well is that no administration has actually tried to make any use of it. We've actually got the building blocks there. We've got the infrastructure. We've kind of got the framework. to be a totally different country, liberated from all that Brussels claptrap, but we've made very little use of it at all. So understandably, some people feel a little bit frustrated about that. I would say that millions and millions and millions, the vast majority of people that voted for Brexit would do so again. And many that didn't, having seen the total shambles that is a lack of control of our borders and so on, they will interpret that as even more reason to vote for Brexit again. So does he really want to take on all those people? I mean, that really is properly poking the bear, isn't it?
It really is. And then you've got West Streeting, obviously waiting in the wings, desperate to move into number 10. He's already measuring up the curtains and all that. Good luck with that, West. I don't think he'll make the grade, but he's got plans. And he's pretty much saying he'll rejoin the EU if he can, if he gets into number 10 Downing Street. This Labour government has just given up on honouring the democratic decision of this country made in 2016 to leave the European Union. This Labour government is reneging on that. It's just saying, right, well, we'll rejoin now. And of course, because Starmer is such an automaton, he thinks that rejoining the EU will bestow automatic economic well-being upon this country. Well, it won't, will it? I mean, but this is their ideology. This is what Labour think. If we're in bed with Brussels, then we're economically prosperous. No, you're not. But that's the way he thinks.
Well, I also think that he would love as his legacy to be, the Prime Minister that brought the UK back into the EU. That as he sees it, that drew a line under the chaotic disaster of Brexit is how he would characterise it. He would love that, wouldn't he? And I think there are elements within the Labour Party, Labour Party strategists who wonder whether this is what they've got left. They are not going to have an amazing economic revival. Rachel Reeves's growth agenda has been a total and utter disaster. They've lost control of our borders. They're unable to deliver on pretty much anything in their manifesto. They're not going to build all those houses. That's been a complete joke as well. So what have they got left? There are Labour Party strategists, I believe, who think that rejoining the EU will be the one big rallying cry that could garner them loads of voters. I think they're very, very wrong about that.
They're just trapped in their own bubble, and they're so damn wrong about it. It really is worrying. I mean, do you think Starmer will be? He said, "Oh, let me tell you, Laura, I will be here in 2027. I was thinking, yeah, but will you be here in 2029? But I think what he meant was, I'll be here in the chair, still in number 10 Downing Street, at the beginning of 2027. I think that's something of a long shot. What do you think? What do you reckon his prospects are this year?
Well, I mean, if the Labour Party knows what's good for them, then they'd get rid of him now. I mean, perhaps right after the May elections, the optimal time, because no new leader wants to have that likely failure on their record sheet. But Labour Party is not very good at getting rid of prime ministers. I watched them try and fail, for example, with Gordon Brown in the run-up to 2010, the agonies that they went through trying to depose Tony Blair, who was, after all, a massive vote winner, and they still found it really difficult to move him on. That took years of negotiations. So I don't know. I mean, perhaps they're stupid enough to muddle along with Starmer for a lot longer than is electorally good for them. I mean, of course, that's great for opposition parties. Happy days.
What is going on with Starmer and all the other contenders, be they Streeting, Angela Rayner, Ed Miliband, Shabana Mahmood, all the contenders, is they've given up on trying to court the sort of centrist dad territory, which is what Starmer's been going for, slightly to the left, but pretty centrist. They've given up on that because it's landed them with the unenviable position as the least popular government in modern history. The unpopularity ratings for Keir Starmer are off the scale. So they've given up on trying to tread the centrist path. And they think that their best bet of gaining some popularity is to go very left-wing. So that, I think, is our future, which is, the problem so far is they've been way too left-wing. Their solution is to be even more left-wing, and that, Isabel, is somewhat worrying.
It is terrifying for the country. Now, I don't think it can be sold to the public en masse, not the Labour version of it. But what I do think is really very worrying is some kind of coalition of left-wing nutters. Imagine that there's a Labour kind of deal with Greens and with other socialist crazies, and that is in some way pitted against what Keir Starmer is desperately branding a very right-wing Reform UK. I mean, those were the words he used, very right-wing. Well, I mean, only compared to him and the Greens could anything that Reform says be characterised as very right-wing. It's basically what policies that most people seem to want, hence the polls. But that is how I think that he is going to pitch things.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's going to be a very interesting year. Just before we do go to break, do you think there's any possibility that, as Starmer promises, we're going to turn the corner? Cost of living crisis will lessen and we'll feel the benefits in our pocket? I mean, with Rachel Reeves running the economy, good luck with that, I would have thought.
None whatsoever.
I thought you might say that. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the migrant crisis. That next, folks. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, action on the channel today. We think 30 or 40 migrants have come across today, but quite a lot of activity over on the French side of the channel, where earlier in the day, 30 migrants were taken to hospital, we think, with severe hypothermia. Pretty cold. The sea is calm, but the temperatures, as we know, are extremely icy. So it's happening. I mean, not a big day, but 40 or so, we think, came across today. So it's still carrying on. It's continuing apace. Today's big announcement from the government was we're going to start seizing migrants' mobile phones when they arrive here on the small boats, on the illegal small boats. And we're all going, you didn't think about doing this before? You mean they've been coming in for the past 15 years and we haven't even taken their phones? It's unbelievable, but it won't make any difference at all. So that's what's being announced. But what I think is interesting is that while the gendarmes continue to stand there waving au revoir to the migrants as they get into their small boats and dinghies and head to the promised lands, 21 miles across the channel to Dover, Folkestone and the like, while the gendarmes do nothing about this, today we've learnt that the French Interior Minister, a guy called Laurent Nunez, is furious because he's just found out that British vigilantes have been going over to the northern French beaches, and what they've been doing is they've been literally disrupting migrants getting onto the small boats, stopping their voyages, doing what the French police ought to do. They've also been going around looking for buried dinghies. A lot of inflatables are buried there, finding them and stabbing them, you know, and puncturing them. So British vigilantes have been going on in quite large numbers. They're mainly from the Raising the Colours organisation, and doing what they can to stop the migrant crisis, to at least disrupt it. The French response to this is one of utter fury. Suddenly they've been galvanised into action. French Interior Minister Laurent Nunez saying that the gendarmes will mobilise to prevent UK members of Raising the Colours stopping foreigners climbing onto the dinghies and roaming the beaches. So in other words, they're going to go massive crackdown on the British vigilantes who are going over there to try to do something about it. So they can arrest them, but they don't arrest the migrants getting into small boats to come to Britain. Great, isn't it?
Well, I've been talking about this for a few months now. I've been talking about the fact that the gendarmes, rather than targeting the actual criminals, the people that have broken into their own country and are now running wild in the north of France, basically turning that whole strip of the northern coast of France into a kind of badland where there are guns and weapons, you know, gunfire's heard most nights in the camps, in the migrant camps of Dunkirk. Instead of targeting the criminals and drug dealers in the migrant camps, they're turning their attention to British campaigners and journalists that go and try to expose what's happening. I mean, it is extraordinary how much attention you will get if you go over there with a camera and some recording equipment and try to film what's going on, try to film the inadequacy of the police response there, try to film what goes on behind the scenes, the work of the charities, the true horrors of those migrant camps, the mess, the degradation, the squalor, the danger, the disease and illness. If you try to film that as a British journalist, you're going to get a really hard time by the French police. They threaten to arrest you. They search your bags. They demand to see your passport. They want to see your media credentials. How is it that they have so much energy to shoot the messenger and so little energy to actually target the people who should not be in the country in the first place? And this kind of vigilante action, I think, will only get worse, will only build as the British people say, you know what, if the French authorities taking hundreds of millions of our taxpayers' money are not stopping the invasion, then we reluctantly, because we've all got jobs to do, will have to try to take the law into our own hands. I'm not endorsing that, but I am warning that that is a very natural response of people who fear the implications of all these undocumented men coming over into our communities.
Totally agree. I mean, I completely understand the motivations of these vigilantes, but we cannot condone going over to a foreign country and taking the law into your own hands, which is what they're doing. So we can't condone that. I understand what is motivating them, but they shouldn't be doing this. And it's quite right that the police are stopping them. Or trying to stop them, are saying we're going to arrest them. I mean, that's what the French police should do. So we all go, oh, well done, French police. But what we're noticing is, I see, you know, your all action when it comes to these vigilantes, but when it's the actual migrants leaving France and getting onto small boats and dinghies to sail over illegally to Britain, you just stand there and look. Seems like two-tier French policing to me, doesn't it, you?
That is exactly what this is. You know, the French authorities are enabling all of this. It is in their interest. They have decided as a country for these migrants to flow through France and on to the UK. And it would simply not be possible for these camps and the whole trade to exist without basically the connivance of the French authorities. Even simple things like the free transport that is provided, that facilitates the passage of these migrants from the camps to boat departure points. There's no need for the French state to provide free transport. That is insanity. Why would you enable the whole thing like that? Why would you allow charities to set up shop all around these camps? Because without these charities providing food, providing electricity, providing sanitation facilities, it just couldn't happen. It would not be a way of sustaining the whole system. So the French authorities, they owe us a lot of money. In my view, we, the British, should be suing them. We should be asking for our money back. We should not be paying them a penny more.
Yeah, £500 million they've taken off us to patrol their own beaches, not particularly effectively. And as we've been discussing, the only thing that energises them is the possibility that journalists might reveal that they're not doing their job very well, might film them not doing their job very well, or the possibility that British vigilantes might come across to northern France and do their job properly, better than they do. These are the two things that really get the gendarmes going. When it comes to stopping the boats or stopping the migrants, don't really care, do they? It's absolutely pathetic. It really is. All these politicians, you still hear people in the cabinet saying, we've got to get round the table with France. Forget it! France are not our friends in this, are they?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely pointless wasting any more time on the French. We're on our own with this one. We have to find a workaround the French rather than any kind of cooperation with them. They have absolutely stitched us up, and they continue to do so, and they make an absolute laughing stock of that so-called cooperation. It's not in their interests. They're very, very happy for this problem to come our way.
Exactly right. So as I say, according to my sources, the first 30 or 40 or so migrants have come across the channel for this year, 2026. The first migrants have arrived in Britain, only a handful of them, but still they come. And we have a government that's doing nothing about it. I have no idea what to do. Among his many other problems, Keir Starmer is a beached whale when it comes to the migrant crisis. He has no clue what to do. Not a single Scooby-Doo. It's a tragedy to behold. Let's go to break, and we'll talk about hypocrisy when we come back. There's a lot of it in this government, as we know. We're going to focus on the epic hypocrisy of nut zero lunatic crazy Ed Miliband. That next. Stick around, folks.
Some breaking news this morning revealed that under the Terrorist Act, 242 people were arrested in the year to June of this year.
That's something you can indulge in as to all the people who aren't going to prison because, well, there's no prison spaces.
So this is a Talk exclusive we've been looking at.
I said, you take these cuffs off me and speak to me like a human being rather than a common criminal.
You're just left wondering, does these people who lead us actually hate Britain? Yeah. Do they not love our country and everything that we've stood for?
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back, still with Talk's international editor Isabel Oakeshott. Talking of international, Isabel, crazy Ed Miliband, the Nut Zero secretary, is seriously global in his travels. Official figures have just revealed that since July, last July, not the one just gone, the July 24, when this Labour government was voted into power, so what is that, 18 months or so, 20 months, I don't know. Since then, Miliband's merry eco gang, all the people who work for him at the Nut Zero department, have taken 33 air travel trips, racking up more than 150,000 carbon spewing miles. That's 6 times round the Earth they've been. Ed himself has done 50,000 air miles with trips to glamorous places like Brazil, India and China. If you remember the COP30 fiasco, that stupid climate change conference that they have every year for no apparent reason, well, old Ed went there twice. He went, left and then went back. So my point, the energy department, the energy secretary's department, has racked up £160,000 worth of air tickets expenditure, and they've gone round the circumference of the Earth more than 6 times. This is just hypocrisy on an epic scale, isn't it? This is classic do as I say, not what I do. You know, he's not the only one. These people, they get on my... it's like the King Charles in his speech, his New Year speech, called for a revolution in the way we live to tackle the climate change emergency. What he's talking about is you and me don't get on aeroplanes to go to Spain on holiday. We don't drive a petrol car. We try to cut back on our use of electricity, etc., etc. He wants us to change our lifestyle to help save the planet. The sovereign, King Charles, has got 15 homes, palaces, castles, country lodges, most of which run on fossil fuels. Buckingham Palace runs on fossil fuels. He's got a huge fleet of vintage cars, Rolls Royces, Daimlers, you name it, he's got it. And in the last couple of years, he's jetted at great cost to the environment to, among other distant destinations, Rome, Mombasa, Sydney and Samoa. I am sick of these people in high places telling us to change our lives when they do nothing about their own lives.
Yeah, what a farce. I feel this story is incomplete without knowing just how many trees would have to be planted to offset Ed Miliband. I mean, if we added like everything that he's destroying in the UK, all the acres of amazing farmland that he wants to carpet in solar panels, the pristine marine environments that he wants to plant wind and wave turbines in. If we took all of that together, how much planting and kind of ecological recovery would be needed to offset Ed? I think it would be absolutely enormous. And, you know, these people, they know no shame, do they?
They don't know.
They just spout this stuff, never look to themselves. I mean, what about Starmer? We haven't even thrown in however many air miles he's clocked up. He's always globe-trotting, isn't he? Much prefers to be on a plane somewhere far away than anywhere in the UK dealing with our problems. And frankly, we're probably better off not having him here anyway. But it's just a net zero disaster by their own arguments.
Yeah, exactly right. Most of Ed Miliband's trips, or a lot of them, are to attend conferences to talk about the climate change emergency, how we can save the planet. Well, I'll tell you how we can save the planet, Ed, is if you and your mates who like to fly to glamorous destinations to discuss the future of the world, the future of the planet, did your conferences on Zoom, the planet might have a few more years left in it rather than you lot destroying it with your carbon spewing jet setting. See what I mean? I mean, they do nothing. They just enjoy going to glamorous places to talk about nonsense that they do nothing about. They will on fly to Brazil, to Mombasa, to Sydney, to Samoa to talk about saving the planet that they've just helped to destroy by flying there in the first place. It's just ludicrous. It's the sort of stuff that makes people, that divorces people from politics. They see this palpable hypocrisy, and people go, well, you expect us to take this seriously? Do you expect us to take Ed Miliband seriously? It's just awful, don't you think?
Yeah, as is the prospect of Ed Miliband being the most popular Labour choice for a successor to Keir Starmer. I mean, can you imagine what that would mean for the nation? I mean, that is enough to really, really trouble you. Maybe even think that you prefer to stick with Starmer than have a Prime Minister, Ed Miliband. And I think there's insufficient attention paid to the enormous pollutant effect of all the creation of these solar panels and turbines that don't last forever and don't work when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine. It's always, people always imagine that that comes from nowhere, but it doesn't. You know, you've got to get rid of these things when they don't work. You have to create them in the first place. It's not how it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Keir Starmer says, oh, this year is going to be my cost of living drive. I'm going to get the cost of living down. You will start to feel things in your pocket. Well, Keir and Ed, not if we continue to have to pay the highest energy prices on the face of the earth. Exactly we have the highest energy prices of any country anywhere, 5 times higher than America, because of these lunatics and their ridiculous policies that bear no relation to people's real lives. So we are not going to improve our cost of living crisis by continuing to pay for Ed's net zero insanity.
That is absolutely right. I mean, the single most dramatic thing they could do to boost the economy and to boost people's private, you know, their income, the way they feel about how tough things are, would be to ditch this net zero insanity. You know, it's impossible for many businesses to actually make any kind of profit because their energy bills, many businesses find that their energy bills are just so high. And, you know, I've just noticed, again, cost of living stuff going up. You know, I'm out of the country, I'm out of the UK quite a bit. Every time I come back, I'm kind of shocked by how things have increased in price. And so much of what is driving that is the fuel prices, is the cost of production.
Exactly right. I mean, businesses are suffering. Individuals are suffering. We're still getting taxed to the hilt. I just don't know where Keir Starmer gets his idea that this will be the year we turn the corner. It's interesting he's saying that, though, isn't it? This will be the year we turn the corner. So he's implicitly accepting that the last year has been a disaster and we need to turn the corner.
Yeah, he is accepting that, but those words, I think, are going to come back to haunt him. You know, everything that they're doing points in the opposite direction. All these new workers' rights that they're planning, all these, you know, raises in income for benefits claimants, all of that goes precisely against the growth that they keep saying is going to come and is just around the corner. Yeah, another thing, by the way, just before we finish up, how sick are you of hearing Keir Starmer say he's proud of things? I don't think he's got anything to be proud of. Why does he keep saying, I'm proud to lead this and I'm proud? We're not proud of you, and you shouldn't be proud of you either.
What was his famous quote in the Oval Office that time? We're very proud of our records of 300 years of freedom of speech. And I was screaming at the TV screen, you're locking people up for tweets. You don't know anything about freedom of speech. Proud, proud, proud. He's got nothing to be proud of. You're exactly right. Isabel, fantastic stuff. Talk tomorrow. Take care.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Taking your calls in about 3/4 of an hour. 03444991000 at 8:30. We're going to ask what life is like for the hate preacher terrorist Abdul Hamza, the British hate preacher Abdul Hamza, because he's locked up in ADX Florence, the Alcatraz of the Rockies, the world's most secure prison, where inmates spend 24/7 in solitary confinement. It is a living hell. Apparently pristine, very clean. You never see anyone. You never leave your cell. We're going to find out what life is like there. Abu Hamza is making a bid to be released again. He doesn't feel that he deserves to be in this hellhole in Colorado. I don't suppose that will succeed, but we're going to find out what life is like for this guy. Pretty grim, I'll tell you that. We'll talk about the Alcatraz of the Rockies later on this hour. Also, Jeremy Clarkson has unleashed a furious fusillade on the BBC for the state broadcaster's worst ever TV Christmas ratings. Has the nation fallen out of love with Auntie Beeb? I suspect it has. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, it's been revealed today, very worrying story, that over 30 mentally ill offenders secretly freed from high-security hospitals have gone on to kill again in recent years. 30 dangerous mental health patients freed from high-security institutions in recent years have gone on to commit murder. There are around 250 people like this are imprisoned in high-security hospitals, if you like, and many are told their conditions are so acute they are unlikely ever to be freed. But new figures gathered by the Daily Telegraph show us that 55%, more than half of these people, are quietly freed within 5 years, and almost 90% within 10 years, 99% within 20 years. So we put these people into secure hospitals, secure units, because of their mental health issues, their mental health sickness, if you like, on the proviso, the assumption that they don't get let out anytime soon. But we're letting out a lot. And we're going to talk now to a guy who knows all about this kind of policy in a very, very tragic way. Well, we'll tell the story as we speak to Julian Hendy. Welcome to the show, Julian.
Hello, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Well, your father was murdered by a psychopathic man, well known to Bristol Mental Health Services, but not known to your father at all. Out of the blue, random, he killed your dad. Very, very sorry for your loss, obviously. A terrible, terrible thing to happen. This happened in 2007, and you went on to make a documentary for the BBC in 2010. Let's have a look at a little clip, shall we?
The man who killed my dad was Stephen Newton. He'd been a patient of Avon and Wiltshire Mental Health Trust since 1990. I wanted to find out, apart from my dad, just how many other mental health homicides have occurred in the Avon and Wiltshire area. And I found 21 since 1993.
My God, Julian, that's only in one area. Tell me a little bit about your dad before we talk about the story. What was his name? What did he do? How old was he?
My dad was Philip Hendy. He was a great man. I loved him a lot. He was kind, decent man, never been in trouble with the law, very funny. I was late having children, and he was a great granddad. He used to love looking after my children. He was 75 when he went to pay his paper bill in Bristol, and as he was coming out of the shop, he was stabbed in the back and in the neck by a man he'd never met before, who had a long history of drug abuse, serious violence, and paranoid schizophrenia.
So,
and as you saw, my background was I used to make documentary films for ITV and BBC and Channel 4, and I found it was incredibly difficult to get any information about how this could have happened. You know, particularly for the mental health trusts. They're supposed to do investigations, and I found that this is happening 100 to 120 times each and every year in the UK. And that is not an inconsiderable number. And most of these people, when they're convicted, get hospital orders, and the system is so secretive that we know that there are about 4,500 what they call restricted patients. These are people who've been convicted of very, very serious offences. And we know that, I looked at the stats, and we know that if you get sent to somewhere like Broadmoor, 98% of them are out within 20 years. If they get sent to a medium secure unit, which is still very secure, a medium secure psychiatric unit, 99% are out within 10 years. And they're being released by mental health, most of them are being released by mental health tribunals with no public scrutiny, no public accountability. They're the last secret courts. We don't even know the name we're not even allowed to know the name of the judges. We don't know the evidence they consider. We don't know how they make the decisions. We don't even know if they're acting lawfully. There's no evidence publicly available to say that it's a closed shop. We're not even allowed to know this. And I've found from my research that over 30 of these restricted patients have gone on to kill after being released by tribunals. And so the whole system is in rapid need of reform, and they need to open up. It needs to be a lot more open and transparent.
Shocking facts you're giving us here, Julian. Because this brings to mind, doesn't it, the case of Valdo Calicone in Nottingham 2 years ago, 2023, when he rampaged throughout the city of Nottingham and killed 3 people along the way. And he was a mental patient who
he'd been sectioned 4 times before and had been released. And I mean, the difference between Calicane and these cases is that the cases that I've looked at with the 30 people who have killed again is they were known to be dangerous. They were been previously convicted and given hospital orders. They were restricted patients, and they were known to be dangerous, and they were still released and went on to kill other people afterwards. They've been convicted of very, very serious offences indeed.
But it's interesting what you were saying about these cases being held almost in camera, in secret, because that's what the victims' families in the Valdo Calicone case are saying, that this went to court, the case of this guy who killed their loved ones, their son, their daughter, their dad, and it was basically wrapped up in a couple of days with a load of doctors saying this guy is mentally unstable, he must go to a secure unit, and he was off. That was it. He's gone to a sort of cushy psychiatric hospital. And what you're saying is the likelihood is, given past experience, that he won't do the kind of sentence that someone who killed 3 people ought to do. He may be out within 10, 20 years.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been supporting the Nottingham families. I was in court during the whole of the sentencing hearing. I mean, the judge, in my view, totally mistakenly said, Calicane will never be released. Now, that's completely untrue. He's got no basis for saying that. He's been badly misled, or he's been badly misinformed, because the reality is that Calicane, most people, as I said, 99% of people who are in high secure hospitals are out within 20 years. 87% are out within 10 years. If he gets sent down to a medium secure unit, he'll be out within 10 years. I've dealt with over 300 families who have been going through this process of lost loved ones because of mental health related families, and they can't get any information. At tribunal hearings, we're not even considered interested parties. Often this happens within families, and people are deeply concerned about the release of loved ones, and the current system is for the benefit of the offender, and it's not for the victims. There needs to be a balance. I'm not calling for everybody to be locked up and throw away the key. There needs to be a balance. It needs to be a transparent system. It needs to be open and accountable, and currently it isn't.
And why do you think this is happening, Julian? I mean, why are we going so leniently on these people?
Because I think that the focus is always on the well-being of the offender. People in the NHS, and I work with a lot of NHS people to try and influence change, is that I think that they're so caught up with the well-being of the offender, they lose sight of the victims left behind and their duty of care to the victims behind, because I often have to fight, tooth and nail to try and get some sort of help and support for people in the aftermath. And the other difficulty is that, if they get sentenced to hospital orders, in place, after committing a very serious crime, you're entitled to benefits. Victims struggle to get any sort of help and support in the aftermath, and yet these offenders who have committed very serious crimes when unwell are entitled to universal credit and sometimes even, low winter fuel allowance. It's ridiculous. The system needs reform. There needs to be a lot more balance. Because the public is not being protected at the moment.
And the statistics seem to indicate that around about 500 patients, like this, they call them patients, inmates, are quietly released from high or medium security mental health institutions every year. 500, that's 10 a week.
They can apply for release within 6 months of conviction. 500 are released by tribunals on average every year. And we know that the decision-making is really, really faulty because 300 of them have to be recalled to hospital each year. So 60% of the cases they're releasing have to be recalled. And the problem is that we know that the supervision is maybe better within the first year, but actually the crimes seem to occur, in my analysis, after the people stop paying attention, stop supervising them robustly, and that's when problems happen. People stop taking their medication, they may abuse street drugs, and then that's when the problems happen.
Yeah, and with the families, the victims of Cavaldo Calacane, they said that they had justice stolen from them because suddenly the trial of the man who killed their daughter, their son, their father, was handed over to doctors. I remember Emma Webber, the mother of one of the victims, just saying, we didn't get a trial, we didn't get justice. They just handed it all over to the medics.
All the decisions were taken behind closed doors without, we didn't see, there was on the basis of the psychiatric evidence by doctors, and that evidence was never tested in court. The families didn't see the psychiatric evidence. They were not allowed to see it. It was all done in secret. It was not open. There was not open justice for many of these cases because it's signed, sealed and delivered behind closed doors in secret without the public or the victims knowing.
So you've been campaigning to sort this situation out. How have the authorities reacted? I mean, basically what I think this is about is the transparency that we, the public, deserve in these cases. These are people who have seriously broken the law, often violently or sexually, and yet they are protected by this wall of secrecy brought down, this veil of secrecy brought down by doctors who just say, well, I'm sorry, these people have got mental problems. So we are then deprived of knowing anything more about these cases. What have the authorities said when you've said to them this has to stop? You have to stop being so secretive. What are they saying?
The mental health judiciary are extremely reluctant to allow any sort of influence. They don't seem to understand public concern or public interest. They seem to think of it as an attack on the independence of the judiciary, which is nonsense. We just want to know that decisions are being taken appropriately and rationally, and that the public is not being put at risk by people who are only acting on often, in my view, inadequate evidence. And they don't understand the public needs protection. Their main concern seems to be on the well-being of the patient.
But hearing your story, Julian, and remembering the story of the victims of Calacane and everything, this is the most shocking thing that can ever happen to anyone. I'm talking about you and your father and those poor kids in Nottingham and the janitor there. This is the most shocking thing that can happen, that suddenly you are attacked, innocent people are attacked by lunatics, by psychopaths who don't even know them. Shocking for them, they lose their lives. Absolutely traumatic for people like you.
It's important to say, most people with mental health problems are not violent. It's the people who are unable or unwilling to get good care and treatment, people off their medication or taking street drugs, or those are the cases where the problems occur. Now, this is happening 100 to 120 times each and every year. The Nottingham case was tragic, but unfortunately, it's not unusual. There are hundreds of cases each and every year, 100 cases each and every year. And the the authorities seem to be putting it into the too difficult file. You know, this has been going on. They started doing inquiry reports in the 1990s. We've had 30 years of inquiry reports. I've seen very little evidence that the NHS is actually learning from these tragedies to prevent them happening. There's often a lot of spin. There's often a lot of declarations of our condolences with bereaved families, but actually where it matters about giving people proper care and treatment and monitoring them appropriately and assertively doesn't seem to happen. You know, the authorities don't seem to be learning. There needs to be a lot more transparency, and there needs to be a lot more openness about this, and there needs to be a lot more regard for the victims of these terrible cases.
And I would have also thought, Julian, a lot more scepticism when skillful lawyers successfully argue, oh, our client has got mental health issues. You know, he cannot be treated like a normal criminal because it's not his fault. He's got mentally challenged problems. So this is basically skillful lawyering.
But also from the CPS, I think. I mean, I think I get the impression sometimes that the prosecution see it as an easy case. We don't have to deal with this too much. You know, it's easy to accept diminished responsibility. It means it's a shorter case, shorter time in court, less work for everybody around, and that's the impression I get. Is that the CPS don't often investigate this appropriately or robustly enough, or challenge the evidence. They seem to be very reluctant to challenge any of the evidence or even question it, because, well, they may do, but we never see it because it's all done in secret. You know, that's why it needs to be, the public needs to have confidence that these decisions are being taken appropriately and the public are being kept safe.
And you're not giving up on this?
I've been doing it for a while now, and I'm carrying on forever. You know, all our families, you know, as I say, I've dealt with lots of families, and everyone says, we just don't want this to happen to anybody else. It's too late. We've lost our loved ones. We just don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Respect, Julian, and very good to talk to you. All the best with your campaign. Julian Hendy there, founder of 100 Families. This is an organisation that helps people who've been through this awful trauma. Can you imagine it, though? Seriously, if it's your dad or your wife or your sister, mother, whatever. You know, they walk out in the street, his dad, Philip, going to pay his newspaper bill at the newsagents, walks out, complete stranger, leaps on him, stabs him to death. Can you imagine the trauma of that? And then these people are getting protected by a system, by lawyers. It's our words, they're mentally ill. Therefore, we have to go easy on them. Give them 5 years in a hospital. No, here's a better idea. Give them life in Wormwood Scrubs. Better idea, I think. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. I'm not saying we do that for everyone, but it seems to me, from what Julian was just saying very eloquently, that a lot of bad types are getting off scot-free pretty much by claiming they've got mental health issues. They're going to secure hospital units, psychiatric units. These are cushy places to spend your sentence, and they're out. Sometimes within 5 years, sometimes within 10, nearly always within 20. These are people who probably would be doing 30-year sentences. Something wrong here, folks. 0344 499 1000. When we come back, let's talk about the BBC. Jeremy Clarkson has let rip. He's had a right go at his former employers, saying no wonder the Christmas ratings were the worst ever in BBC history because the nation's fallen out of love with the BBC. It's as simple as that. We don't love Auntie Beeb anymore, do we? Doesn't seem to me we do anyway. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Jeremy Clarkson's had a right go at his former employees at the BBC, attacking them over their worst ever ratings performance at Christmas. Really low ratings, down I think around about 16 to 20% on last year. Highest ratings of the day on Christmas Day were the King's Speech. So he beat everyone else. He beat Strictly, he beat Call the Midwife, he beat all of the BBC's Christmas specials, which weren't watched by very many people at all. Let's talk to Campaign Director at Defund the BBC, Rebecca Warren. Welcome, Rebecca. Happy New Year to you. What do you make of the BBC? They had a terrible Christmas, didn't they? I mean, they did their usual thing. Nobody else bothers at Christmas, only the BBC. And every year, BBC, 9 of the top 10 programmes were on the BBC. Yeah. But not many people watched them, did they? This was a real sea change this year. I believe that the ratings generally on the BBC was 16 to 20% down on last Christmas. What do you think's going on? Jeremy Clarkson is talking about, it's woeful wokery, it's right-on left-wingism, it's coverage of Gaza, programmes like the Doctor Who, becoming some kind of nonsense about climate change and gender politics and so on and so forth. Basically, Clarkson says the BBC has left its audience, that the BBC is no longer identified as the national broadcaster by millions and millions of particularly young people. They've kind of lost it, haven't they?
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of the two things there. I think Jeremy is absolutely right that the BBC has completely lost grasp on what people actually want to watch. Considering that we're forced to pay for the BBC, if any of us watch live broadcasting, we have to pay for this organisation. They really have a duty to be, delivering content that we actually want to watch. But also, aside from that, is the fact that people aren't really watching live broadcast TV at all. The numbers, I think the highest number was Vicar of Dibley, 3 million, which is a fraction of what it used to be back in the day when people would actually sit and watch TV during Christmas. So it's completely woeful. And yet we're still forced to pay for it. So where's the money going? That's the thing. They're literally just blowing this money away on these woke projects, as Jeremy was saying. And the fact that they tried to, it's hilarious reading Jeremy's piece there in the Times, because he was talking about how they tried to make up the trio, or it might have been his producer that was saying that they replaced one of them with somebody sort of young and black or Asian, someone non-white and young, just to sort of, mix things up. It's just, we had the sort of, world record sort of for the most watched programming, and they thought, let's improve on it by doing some diversity box.
And I like the way the BBC always said, all the BBC apologists, everybody knocking the BBC. Did they notice that 9 of the top 10 most watched programmes at Christmas were on the BBC? Yeah, we did. But we also noticed that the numbers, the audiences, were hugely down. Was it last year or was it year before when they showed Gavin and Stacey, and that got about like 12 million live viewers? This year, the biggest number they got was The King, who got 6.56 million on the BBC alone. And the next biggest programme was The Scarecrow's Wedding, wherever the hell that is. That got 4.31 million. Strictly Come Dancing, 4.2. Call the Midwife, 3.4. EastEnders, 2.85. I mean, these are really feeble numbers, aren't they?
They really are, and it just shows people aren't watching live broadcast TV. If you can't watch it at Christmas when people are sort of passed out on the sofa, sort of overeating and over drinking, they really aren't watching. They're watching something else. They're watching and they're watching catch up. and therefore they don't need to pay for a TV license. That must be scaring the BBC. So they're putting on this sort of promise, oh look, as you said, we're in the top line, we're all BBC. But it's like, because people are probably watching BBC iPlayer or BBC because they're forced already to pay for it, but they're not taking into account all of the catch-up content on Netflix and Amazon Prime, Plus, and all of those things.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the BBC continues to sort of devour itself, doesn't it? It's sort of set up these whistleblower departments. It's just hired two 120 grand a year head of corporate investigations and whistleblowing. Basically, these guys or people will be responsible for weeding out wrongdoing. In other words, in the future, if there's a Greg Wallace or a Hugh Edwards situation, this top team, these 250 grand's worth of top people, will investigate. So this is all very well and good, but what you're setting up here is a kind of a kind of mad banquet whereby any single disgruntled employee will go to these whistleblowing executives, and a big investigation will be undertaken. And if they don't decide that the programme and the producer and the editor are guilty, then the guy will go public and say the BBC didn't care about me. So the BBC will be terrified of that. In other words, every complaint that is made, almost every complaint, will be sustained, will be upheld. Therefore, the BBC has already destroyed MasterChef. No one's watching that anymore. They're getting rid of the audience of Strictly Come Dancing. They've got rid of half the cast. The two stars have gone as well. I suspect that show may soon die a death, lost in its own scandals. MasterChef died a death, eaten by its own scandals, and the BBC is fueling the fire by hiring very highly paid executives to pander to every complaint from every disgruntled BBC employee. This is a self-harming recipe for disaster, isn't it?
I mean, I think it's that, but also, you know, I think we've seen the BBC time and time again. I don't hold out much faith that they're actually going to be upholding all of those complaints. These people are just going to have their heads on the block, I think, next time something comes around. You know, I can't see that they're going to change their culture so much that they're going to actually so-called talent. This would probably be more for internal management disputes and what have you. But again, it's just got a massive HR department. Did they really need to buy, you know, get into more people on such huge salaries?
Yeah.
Did they really have managed that?
It's true. The BBC, in any given problem, it's like their solution is, how can we spend a lot more of TV licence payers' money? I know, let's hire two people for £250,000 to set up a whistleblowing department. That's a great idea. It's a lousy idea. It will just waste money, but they'll say, oh, we've really addressed this problem. But I do think, I take your point that, you know, maybe many complainers won't get what they want, but the BBC is literally eating itself. I mean, it's taking every successful programme it's got and undermining it, investigating it, making it untenable. It's a very weird situation. It's going to be an interesting year this year for the BBC when they lose their Director General and their Head of News. How do you think things will pan out for 2026 for RTB, the state broadcaster?
I mean, I think they will desperately be fighting to continue. There's going to be huge PR campaigns about how much they are wanted. You know, there's this sort of government sort of consultation at the moment where they want right in to say, you know, how their thoughts on the BBC. We would certainly encourage all of your listeners to give their views, because otherwise we know the BBC is going to trot out. You know, that everybody loves the BBC and is determined and wants for it to continue, because that's what they do best, is self-promotion, whilst also not delivering on any of their obligations. So I can't really see much changing for the BBC other than this continuing, as you say, eating itself alive. Just being disaster after disaster.
Yeah, and every sentence will be peppered with the word traitors. Got traitors? Celebrity traitors, got celebrity traitors. Claudia Winkleman's got a new chat show. Great. Can't wait. Rebecca, always a pleasure to talk to you. We'll talk again soon, no doubt. Rebecca Ryan, Campaign Director at Defund the BBC. What did you think about the BBC at Christmas? Any good? What do you think about TV at Christmas? 03444991000. When we come back, Abu Hamza, you know Abu Hamza, the hate preacher, the terrorist hate preacher, doing a hefty sentence over in America at ADX Florence, the world's most secure prison, where all inmates spend 24/7 every single day on their own in solitary confinement. He's trying to get out, trying to go to a less secure prison. It's unlikely he will succeed, but we're going to find out what life is like in that place from a former inmate. So stay tuned and we'll talk about that next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Abu Hamza, the hook guy, the hate preacher, the British hate preacher, currently doing life in prison for terrorist offences over in America, in Colorado, in ADX Florence, which is in the Rocky Mountains. They call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies. It is said to be the most secure prison on the face of the earth. It's very serious. Prisoners spend every single moment in solitary confinement. It must be a living hell. Hamza is launching his own bid. He's going to represent himself to get transferred. He wants to come back to Britain or go to a less secure prison. Good luck with that. Unlikely to happen. Among other things, he complains that the guards at ADX Florence have taken away his metal hook and replaced it with a flimsy, inefficient plastic hook because they say the metal one is dangerous. You can see where they're coming from. Really sorry to hear that about poor Abu. But he's stuck there, and he probably will continue to be stuck there. So going forward, that will be the rest of his life. What a life, stuck in 24/7 solitary confinement. What is it like in the world's most secure prison? Let's talk to someone who knows, someone who did time there, ex-prisoner, author now, of a book called A Clean Hell, Anarchy and Abolition in America's Most Notorious Dungeon. Welcome to the show, Eric King. Welcome, Eric.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, tell us. I mean, I don't think Abu Hamza is going to get out. I'm less interested in that, but I'm very interested in his life, a life that you have experienced. So he's doing 24/7 solitary confinement in this jail, which I gather is sort of clinically clean, but a living hell to be in. What is life like in that prison, Eric?
It's miserable.
I figured it might be. But go on. Go on.
You're so deeply isolated, not just from other prisoners, but from the reality of life, that you start losing yourself. You start losing your sense of purpose, your sense of identity, and it really messes with your head, and it can get really depressing really fast.
And so solitary confinement 24/7. What happens? What time do you wake up in the morning? How does the day go?
So I would wake up at 5:30. I think a lot of people do also because breakfast is at 6. Okay. And so you basically set your schedule to your food schedule. So I've got breakfast at 6, lunch at 10:30, dinner at 4. So everything else happens in between there, cleaning your cell, trying to do workouts if you can. If you're lucky, you'll get some mail, doing some walking laps if you're physically capable. We have little small TVs in those cells because you have no other human contact. So you're able to watch some programs if you speak English and can understand those programs. So it is it can become very regimented or very miserable, as I said.
And what would breakfast be? What would the food be?
So every single day we have a set schedule of food. So Monday would be biscuits and gravy. It's usually a piece of bread with some gravy on it and some oatmeal. On Tuesdays it's bran flake cereal. Wednesday it is a waffle stick.
Okay.
Like some fried bread, stuff like that.
So what is the food, average or bad? It's bad. It's bad, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. It is trash. It is bad. You would not feed that to your animals.
Oh my God. So you get up at 5:30. You get your biscuits and gravy at 6 o'clock, and then your lunch comes at 10:30. What do you do? I mean, are you allowed to read books? I mean, you've got your TV, but that must drive you nuts anyway. But are you allowed to read books or anything like that?
Yeah, you can have select books sent in. It has to be from a bookseller like Amazon or whatever, and they have to be paperback. And there's a special, like it's the intelligence agency within that prison. It's called SIS, Special Investigative Services. They have to approve each book. And so for someone like Abu, the FBI and SIS has to approve it. So it can take months to get a book.
Wow. What were you in for, Eric? It's right, you can tell me. I'm a doctor. It's okay.
I was in ADX. There's a weird little process, but I had gotten prosecuted for a staff assault and taken it to trial, and I won. But because I won, they got really upset about it. So they gave me what's called leadership status, and they can use that as an excuse to put anybody they find disruptive in that prison. So that is how I landed there.
And how long did you do in ADX, Eric?
I almost did 2 years. It was 5.5 years total isolation while I was like facing the other cases and everything, and then almost 2 years there. And I think Abu's been there for like 15.
Yeah, and total isolation, does that mean the only other humans you ever get to talk to are the guards?
Yeah, so there can be, if you yell really, really loud from your cell, someone can hear you on the range. There's 6 other people on your range, but it is just so hard because we have 2 doors.
Yeah.
So you have to yell through both doors to get heard. And then if you have recreation outside, they will put you in dog kennels. And your dog kennel might be next to someone else's dog kennel. So besides that, though, the only people you're talking to is staff, and none of us are wanting to talk to staff.
So what kind of state does that, I mean, you were talking about it earlier, but what kind of mental state does that put you into? What will Abu Hamza be going through every day mentally? Going through this regime?
So he has been on SAM's restrictions, which is even a harsher restrictions. So I imagine being also like physically disabled, along with having all of your mail take months or years, not getting phone calls unless it's like your mom or child, having those sort of restrictions, and then having restrictions on your faith as well. I was enraged every single day of my life. I developed a strong, passionate hatred for these people. And so everything I did that was positive was in defiance of them. Like, I'm going to make myself happy. I'm going to find joy just to piss these people off because they don't want you to have it. So I imagine for him it is.
But the sense of I don't know if you had a finite sentence on your head. You had a release date to look forward to. He doesn't, in particular. The sense of hopelessness, even if you have a release date in mind, must be profound.
The only thing that, like, I was able to contact a lot of jihadis that were in there, and those dudes have such intense faith that they are some of the strongest willed prisoners there. They don't seemingly, at least on the outside, get despair. They don't show that you're gonna break me spirit. Although, like, you hear it happens, like Zachariah Moussaoui, I heard he's fallen apart, the 9/11 20th hijacker. But for the most part, those guys are resilient.
Do you, when you're in 24/7 solitary, do you ever come across other prisoners?
So because of them walking to recreation or being in the dog kennels, that gives you that option. And then I was also in a unit called the pre-release unit for people leaving.
Yeah.
So I got to talk to 2 or 3 other people an hour a day.
Okay. And did you ever come across Abu while you were there? I don't know if you were there at the same time, no?
We were there at the same time, but his unit is so secure, he will never see or talk to prisoners from any unit but his.
So he's in a really, really hardcore secure unit, yeah?
Yeah, that unit, like all of ADX is 24-hour lockdown, but some of us have less restrictions. His is as restricted as you can imagine. Like the FBI has to live listen to his phone calls, and they can only do that if there's a translator available, and he can only call one person. So like those sort of restrictions are, I think, for most people beyond comprehension.
Now, your book, Eric, yeah, I mean, his life must be a living hell. Your book is called A Clean Hell. So am I right, the ADX is a sort of clinically clean place? Is that right?
A warden called it that. That's where I got the title from. And it's because you're not going to see like the old fading like gym equipment and the rust and the blood from other prisoners and trash, because we're all locked down. So it's like a sterile environment that just sucks all the joy.
And tell us about you now, Eric. Really, really good to talk to you. Really interesting, by the way. Are you on the straight and narrow?
I mean, I guess.
Yes, you are. Of course you are. You've seen the light, right?
Yeah, like I've got a good career. I've got a family. I'm still an activist when I can be, but yeah, I'm not getting involved in any crimes. Hell no.
No. Well, listen, so your book, A Clean Hell, Anarchy and Abolition in America's Most Notorious Dungeon, is available at all the usual places. Eric, come on again. That was fantastic. Really good to talk to you. Take care now. Eric King, ex-prisoner and author in ADX, Florida. The Florence, not Florida. It's in Colorado. They call it the Alcatraz of the Rockies, and that is what old hooky Abu Hamza is going through now, day in, day out. Never sees anyone, only ever talks occasionally to a guard, gets his breakfast, his dinner and lunch put through a hatch. Real nightmare. Living hell. But as I say, clinically clean. They never leave their cell. Unbelievable. 03444991000. After the break, we'll take some calls. I'll read some messages. And we'll carry on from there, shall we? So get on the phone, 03444991000. We'll take calls until 9 o'clock. Then I'll talk to Kinsey Schofield, and then we'll take calls again. So lots still to come, and you are going to play a big part in the rest of the show. That you have my word on. So stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Mandy in Felixstowe. Hello, Mandy.
Hi, good evening, Kevin. It's nice to hear you back on the airwaves again.
Back at last. Good to be back. What do you think about Starmer clearly moving closer and closer to the EU, and other people in his party clearly keen on rejoining? Basically, the Labour Party manifesto promised us that we would not rejoin the EU single market or the customs union. The Prime Minister telling Laura Kuenssberg yesterday that it would be, and I quote, better looking to the single market rather than the customs union for our further alignment. He wants to get us back into the single market, which means that basically we rejoin the EU, Mandy, but we can't vote at the table. So we have to take all the laws, the rules, the regulations, but we can't vote. That wouldn't be very good, would it?
Kevin, it'd be an absolute disaster. We had a democratic vote. We voted 52 to leave.
Yep.
I was a leaver.
Yeah.
For him to go ahead and do this is way against what we voted for. To go behind our backs and do this, what the hell does he think he's playing at?
This is what he said to Laura. This is what he said to Laura Kuenssberg, Mandy. I think we should get closer. This is to Brussels. I think we should get closer, and if it's in our national interest to have even closer alignment with the single market, then we should consider that. We should go that far. I think it's in our national interest to go further. Well, that's fine, Keir, except for we didn't vote for that. You can't have prime ministers say, well, a democratic decision has been made, a democratic vote has been taken, but we're going to ignore that because I think it's in the national interest. That's not acceptable, is it?
No, it's not acceptable at all. Like I said, it was a democratic vote, and that's what we voted for, to leave. I was a leaver, and I still stand by that. This Starmer should not be in government. Yeah. He hasn't got a clue what he's doing, and he's leading this country the wrong way. We've got too many illegals that are getting everything, and I'm sick and tired of us having to fight for the right, the SARS, that old boys from the First and Second World War gave up their lives for our freedom. Yeah, and that's not being considered.
Totally right. And do you agree with Keir Starmer in his New Year's speech when he said that diversity is Britain's strength? We're a diverse nation. I'm sensing you don't agree with that, Mandy.
That's the one thing with you, Kevin. You two made me laugh and put a smile on my face.
It's a serious question. No, it wasn't really. I mean, did you hear him say that, though? Aren't you sick of people like him and the King going, diversity is our strength? It's just something to say. I'm not sure diversity is our strength. Are you?
It's not. It's the worst thing. We can see that with what's happening with all the illegals coming over, and they can't call them irregular. They are illegal.
They're not irregular. They're illegals. Absolutely right.
Exactly. But like I said, Kevin, you, your team, and Talk have kept me sane.
Well, that's good to hear, Mandy. And you keep ringing in. Really good to talk to you, and a very happy New Year to you. The brilliant Mandy in Felixstowe there. I agree with every word she said. I don't know what you think. Let's go to Bournemouth, talk to Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Kevin. Happy New Year to you and
to
all.
you, Karen. Now, you want to talk about Venezuela?
Yeah.
What do you feel? Why do you feel that Starmer didn't know anything about it?
Well, I think that's not the big thing.
It's your dog again. Every time you ring. What's your dog called again? I forgot.
Elsa, but
Elsa. How can I forget? Elsa comes in on every one of our calls. Happy New Year, Elsa. Anyway, Karen, you were saying about Venezuela. What's your feeling about Starmer? Didn't you think it was extraordinary that after it happened, he said his statement was, "Well, I need to get the facts. I'm waiting for the press conference."
Yeah, well, I mean, that's Starmer all over, isn't it? But I think what's panicking Starmer now is the fact that he still hasn't rung 2 days later. And I think Trump is playing an interesting game of chess with pretty much everybody. With the Greenland thing, that's just to distract the United Nations to give them something to do while he gets on with the proper stuff.
That's interesting. I mean, I think he's interested in Greenland. He's also interested in Cuba, in Colombia, all of these nations near America that he thinks could be an area of weakness for the States. He's doing something about. But I think in terms of Starmer, he doesn't care about Starmer, does he? Starmer doesn't mean anything to him.
No, not at all. Starmer's just a flea on his dog.
Yeah, that's a flea on his dog. Go on.
I think the other thing too is that he did that first with Maduro.
Yes.
And all we have to do now, he doesn't actually have to do it with the other countries. Because they've seen that he will do it. So they're probably going to sort of start pulling themselves back a bit anyway.
But what about Britain in terms of Britain's alleged special relationship with America? If you think about it, Karen, there's something very extraordinary about the Prime Minister of our great country announcing on the day that America has effectively invaded Venezuela and has taken prisoner Venezuela's President and First Lady. On the day that America did that, the Prime Minister of Great Britain announced that he didn't know anything about it. Britain wasn't involved. He's waiting for the press conference, the TV press conference, to find out what the hell is going on. We are just not at the table anymore, are we? We are so far out of the loop, it hurts.
Well, Starmer didn't admit that he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, but that's not good, is it?
He wasn't involved. But he didn't know anything about it.
No, he didn't know a damn thing. Not a thing.
Well, the thing is, I don't think that Trump will tell him anything, because the first thing Starmer will do is ring China and tell them.
Well, yeah, he doesn't trust Starmer. He doesn't care about Starmer. He just pays lip service to it. But it'll be interesting to see what Starmer says in terms of the international law aspect, the legality of what America has done.
Well, he put up Yvette Cooper this afternoon for the statement, and you've got to laugh at the woman. The first thing she says is, you know, the duty is to look after the citizens of the country. And she's going on about, you know, protecting the democracy of Venezuela, while they're all sitting there stripping our democracy right out the window.
Yeah, and the democracy of Venezuela is dubious, to say the least. Maduro, if there was a proper democracy there, wouldn't be the president, would he?
Well, that's the thing. He wouldn't have bothered doing it if there was a bit of a democracy. But don't forget, too, that those oil companies that Maduro took on and nationalised had originally belonged to America anyway.
Yeah, exactly. What we're talking about is a kind of rogue narco state. I mean, his wife, Cecilia, Maduro's wife, who's arguably even more corrupt than Maduro, 40 of her family members work for the government. Can you believe that? 40. When 3 of her nephews got...
Somebody really evil.
Yeah. Well, she's as bad as he is. But Starmer didn't know anything about it, did he? He said he had to wait for the press conference. That proves that Britain has lost its place at the top table, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know, because he didn't tell his own Senate and things, did he, either?
Yeah.
So I don't think that wasn't the sort of major thing. I think it's the fact that he hasn't rung in now he's done it.
Still doesn't know, does he?
If he had a relationship with him that he trusted, he would have rung Starmer by now.
But I tell you what's also interesting, Karen, is that Starmer has yet to tell us whether or not he thinks international law has been broken. Because he's scared to offend Donald Trump. It's pathetic to watch. It's pathetic. It really is. Good to talk to you, though, Karen, and a Happy New Year to you and your magnificent daughter, Elsa. Karen, phoning from Bournemouth there. Let's go to break. When we come back, I'll be joined by Kinsey Schofield. We've got lots to talk about in terms of Harry. Harry maybe getting his gun guard back when he comes to Britain. The police will protect him with guns. We're being told. Whether or not that's true, we'll try to find out. So lots still to come. Kinsey Schofield next. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In half an hour or so, taking your calls. 03444991000. You can send a WhatsApp voice note if you like on the same number, and I promise to play that out. I've also got lots of messages. I'll try and read as many of those out as I can, so lots still to come. But before we get to you, let's talk about Meghan and Harry, shall we, with the redoubtable, the excellent, the formidable Kinsey Schofield over there in Los Angeles. She is the host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered, and she joins me now. Happy New Year, Kins.
Happy New Year, Kev. 2 weeks of my Harry and Meghan cleanse, and I'm feeling pretty good. Like
it's like yeah, we both had a sort of cleanse out. You're right, but you know, there's something about these two. You know, you and I still sending each other links that you see. There's something very compelling about their strange lives. Always interesting. We'll get on to Prince Harry and his armed police protection in a second, but just before Christmas, it broke that these two, the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan, are losing staff again. They've lost, is it 2 of their top communications people? What's going on?
Well, I mean, I had somebody that I believe did work for the Sussexes tell me that working for Meghan Markle was a dehumanizing experience. And, you know, I think that that's the perfect example right there of what some of these people must go through. I mean, Meredith Maines didn't even last a year. That, I think, says a lot. And this was right after they lost their big Netflix guru, who also worked on The Crown, who lasted a solid 3 months. So what's going on there? I think that they continue to lack in leadership. I think they have a questionable work ethic. I don't think that they listen to the intelligent guidance that they're given. Otherwise, you can't justify a lot of the mistakes that have been made over the last several years. And I think that they have a problem communicating with people. Meghan, I've always been told, demands respect. And she does so in a way that makes people feel very small. And that's not the way that you behave in, to function in the entrepreneurial world. You just can't be that. You can't have that type of personality. Entrepreneurs are hustlers, they're go-getters. Yes, they're working around the clock, but they're gracious. And, in today's world where social media exists, not everybody has to sign all the non-disclosure agreements that Harry and Meghan make their people sign. But, you run the risk of burning yourself when you treat people the way that Harry and Meghan allegedly treat people.
Well, we had Meredith Main, who was the head of communications, leaving just before Christmas. And then on the 29th...
Who also was conveniently papped during the... I believe Meredith Mains is behind this Project Thaw rumor that Harry and Meghan are wanted back in the royal family. And she was the person that was papped with King Charles's team in London.
Yeah, exactly right. But she suddenly went just before Christmas. Also, James Holt, who was known as Prince Harry and Meghan's rock throughout Megxit. He's been running the Archewell charity since 2021. It was revealed that he's left. That was just after Christmas, 29th of December. Plus, they've
By the way, one of the highest paid employees at Archewell. I mean, I know we're down to like one now, but they're saving a significant amount of money.
$245,000 a year.
Yeah, and they're saving a significant amount of money with him gone, and we're constantly talking about Harry and Meghan's financial issues. So I think that it's probably almost a breath of fresh air for Harry and Meghan to crawl out of that debt.
And along the way, the name of the Archewell Foundation has changed to Archewell Philanthropies. That's the charity.
I mean, change it to what? Change it to what? I mean, what do you guys do? What do you guys do? What do you ever do? I mean, you could call it Archewell whatever, and we would still have the same question. I've complained about it for the last 5 years. Show up, do good. They make that motto so vague that we can't hold them accountable for not showing up and doing anything. What do you do?
Show up, do good. What does that even mean? Well, let's talk about Harry for a second, because over the weekend, I'm not sure I'm buying into these stories, because it sounds to me as if they're coming out of the Harry...
They are. These are Sussex sources.
The Harry and Meghan spin factory. But according to these sources, Harry is close to getting what he has absolutely passionately wanted for the last couple of years, and that is armed police protection by British cops when he comes back to the UK. And by extension, he wants that for his family if he brings them back, Meghan and the kids, who haven't been back here sort of almost ever. We believe that Meghan doesn't really ever want to come back to Britain. But the word is, according to the papers, that Harry might be about to get that armed police protection that he's fought a long and bitter and very expensive legal campaign to get. My question about that would be, what if that's true, why would the British government spend so much time and resources fighting?
Because this is Keir Starmer's team. This is a new administration, and Harry specifically courted. I'm sorry that I can't remember their names, but Harry he went to Ukraine with one of the members. Harry has specifically courted Keir Starmer's new regime, and this is Keir Starmer's team's doing. This is all Keir Starmer and his government giving Harry what he wants.
Well, that's if it's true. That's if he gets it. I mean, as you say, Kinsey, these stories are very much coming out of Camp Harry and Meghan. So they would want this to be true. As I say, I still don't understand why it is that the British government would spend so much money. I mean, some of the money spent defending the British government's case has been under Keir Starmer's government. So that doesn't quite pan out. Why would they fight this case for 2 bitter years in the courts and then suddenly go, okay, you can have what you want?
Well, there's a couple of things going on. A, Harry's team has made the argument that it's cheaper to just give him the automatic armed security guards versus doing the intelligence with every single visit, every time he comes over, giving them the 30 days notice. He's saying, look, it's cheaper if you just give me automatic security versus you having to investigate it every single time I come over. There's also the fact that Harry claims, poor victim Harry, that he has a stalker. And first of all, I'd be like, I'd like to introduce you to a proud member of the Sussex squad. This person does not see herself as a stalker. She sees herself as a fan of Prince Harry. But Harry has accused her of stalking him, and she approached him twice, one of the last times he was there. And Harry has given this as a piece of evidence to try to secure him in getting armed security whenever he lands over in the country. But if I were a UK taxpayer and this all goes Harry's way, I would be very hostile. Harry continues to act destructively and recklessly when it comes to his own safety. You don't write a book and include all of your Taliban kills in a gloating fashion. You don't go on national television and throw stones at a specific political party when in the same year we've watched a political assassination all over the internet. Harry is reckless. If he wants to continue to behave that way, he needs to recognize that actions have consequences, and those consequences shouldn't be the UK taxpayer having to foot the bill for his security whenever Meghan Markle wants to go over to the UK to Christmas shop.
Exactly right. I don't think he's going to get it. I really don't. But I'll tell you why. It's because the King is well aware that the people of this country, people of Britain, will be furious at this. This is a guy who's demanding the same protection that hard-working frontline members of the royal family get in this country because they do their royal duties. This guy ran away. So he's not a frontline royal, and the British taxpayers don't want to pay money for his protection. That's his own business. It's not our business, and the people of this country don't want it. The King knows that. I'll be very surprised if this decision is reversed. I really will.
Well, have you seen the line that is coming from the Sussex camp that says the only thing that could get in the way is the royal family? Already setting that conversation up to villainize.
It's just so not true, though, Kinsey. It's so not true. I'll tell you what.
What I will say is, and I don't mean this as an insult to the King. I love King Charles. I do. But he was very weak throughout the Andrew Mountbatten Windsor saga.
Oh, King Charles is always weak in everything. He's a nice guy, but he's very weak.
And I think that if we really wanted to speculate on how he would handle this, yes, he would recognize that people would be irate over the thought of having to pay for Harry. I'm telling you, Harry does not want taxpayer-funded security to bring his kids over. That's a, in my opinion, a bold-faced lie.
Yeah.
Harry is trying to create a rival court in the UK. Harry wants to come over and do little charity events and play with balloon animals right at the point that Prince William walks across the stage and wants all eyes on him. And Harry is not doing it for the good of the world. Harry's doing it because he has a commercial brand to sell. Harry uses, William lands in Rio, and there's Harry showing up in Canada. And blink and you'll wake up and Harry's back in Toronto a few weeks later, rent-a-print style, taking pictures with real estate agents for his commercial ventures. Everything Harry does charity-wise today is to support his commercial ventures because he's got to make a paycheck. And I think that he is trying to create a rival court in the UK because Harry is no one without that proximity to the British royal family. They are refusing him. They are rejecting him. They told him no half in, half out. He is forcing the issue by showing up where King Charles is the king, places like Canada and the UK. And he is going to remind the world that he is a member of this family, whether they like it or not, because he's got to make money. He's got to put money in the bank.
Oh, exactly right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Harry again. Because we're hearing, you know, that the King is going to America this year to celebrate 250 years of American independence, and it will be an official visit. Prince Harry is desperate for the King to be reunited with his grandchildren by popping into Montecito while he's over here. So far, we understand he won't be doing that, the King. He won't be doing that. But all this thing, we're desperate for the King to be reunited with his grandchildren. Well, here's what you do, Harry. Get on an aeroplane and fly to Britain to see him. Why doesn't he just do that?
Yeah, I mean, Meghan's got time to go to Paris for Paris Fashion Week. They certainly have time to bring the kids over to see the King, who has cancer. A cancer-ridden king does not need to fly to Montecito, California, so that he can sit at a stoplight next to Rob Lowe and Oprah Winfrey to see Prince Harry. It just shows you how gross and entitled Harry is. And also these headlines, they also told us 3 weeks ago that Meghan Markle was desperate to get a hold of her father. You know what she did? She sent the embassy parading through his hospital room with his amputated leg on full display while they recorded him without his permission because they needed to get a video back to Meghan Markle. So desperate, I'll believe it when I see it.
Exactly right. And if I don't think Harry will get this armed police protection that he seeks, but if he did, for his whole family, it would make it difficult for Meghan not to come over to Britain, wouldn't it? Even though I know
I don't think she cares. She's shameless.
Yeah. It's maybe. What about Meghan? They call her Lady Marmalade now because apparently if you spent a certain amount of money over the $70 on as ever products over the Christmas period, you got a free jar of Meghan Marmalade. Wow.
Well, look, I think you and I have a new show on our hands because Meghan is releasing a cookbook this year where she's going to go through not only some of her favorite as ever memories, like the fruit rainbow that, you know, we saw on Pinterest 10 years ago and the broccoli wreath. But hopefully she's going to pull some other creative excursions out of her backside. I think that is a page-by-page podcast or show for us where we recreate all of every page of Meghan Markle's cookbook. I'm not surprised she's going this route. She had a lot of success with a cookbook when she was a member of the British royal family. So I can see as you know, a book publisher would look at those analytics and go, it's a no-brainer. But the reality is she was a completely different character publicly when she was a member of the British royal family. People hate her now. This cookbook, it's not going to charity. There's not some bigger cause. The cause is Meghan Markle's Botox fund, and people aren't going to get behind that. And, you know, I think she will have a hard time failing in this endeavor, having seen the success of Spare. I think she will be incredibly resentful of her husband at the end of the day when this cookbook is released, and it is in no way, shape, or form comparable to the success Harry had with Spare.
Absolutely. And by the way, going back to the King's visit to America this year, here's another reason why he won't go to Montecito, because William will be furious. The King getting closer to Harry and Meghan will not go down with William, and the King defers to William. So that's another reason why old Ginger Whinger will remain on his own in California.
At the end of the day, no one wants to talk to Prince Harry because he can't be trusted. I mean, it's as simple as that. The fact that one of the last times Harry went to visit his father, he had to go through the guest entrance with metal detectors because they wanted to ensure the man wasn't mic'd up, allegedly. You know, no one can trust Harry, and the King does rely a lot on Prince William and respects his feelings. But I also think the king just understands that he can't trust Harry with any piece of information. And what are you going to do sitting there in front of Harry and the kids and the wife? Talk about the weather? It puts him in a very weird situation when he has to be so guarded around his own child.
Last time the king saw Lilibet and Archie was in 2022, 3 years ago. It's just 4 years ago. It's all wrong, isn't it? There's something. They're so weird, this couple. You know, that poor old Thomas Markle's never seen his grandchildren, has never met his son-in-law. The king hasn't seen his grandchildren for 3 years. The king has never met Meghan's father, and so on and so forth. They've sort of formed a weird kind of setup, haven't they, in California? You know, divorced from everyone else, not seeing various members of their family, waging this constant campaign about wanting to be loved but not really succeeding. It's all very strange, isn't it?
Yes, but I would say it just proves that their motives when it comes to reuniting with King Charles, or any sorts of stories being generated about desperation or wanting to reunite with King Charles, lets us know what their ultimate objective is, and that's just that proximity to the British royal family so that they can sell it. If the royal family is as racist and miserable and cruel and mean as Harry and Meghan have told us in the past that they are, it's in print. You can pick up a copy of Spare today and see that Prince William is a monster who hates hugging and dog bowls. Then you wouldn't want to reestablish that relationship. They are always trying to make it look like there's a potential for reconciliation. And maybe they are making a little bit of an effort that they are not making towards Thomas Markle, because they can monetize that. Even the effort, they can monetize that effort. And I think that they reek of greed and desperation today. And 2025 was a horrible year for them, and I don't see them bouncing back in 2026. They need to go away for a significant amount of time and let people forget. Not everybody's going to forget, but time does heal all wounds, according to our ancestors. But I just feel like they are a pair of idiots, and 2026 is going to look a lot like 2025 for us.
And I get the feeling that Harry, old Ginger Nuts, is the kind of guy who formulates something in his mind that he wants, and then kind of virtually pretends to himself it's definitely going to happen. So he's got this idea that there's going to be a reconciliation between him and the British royal family, that him and the king will get up close and personal, and all will be forgiven and forgotten. And he's kind of saying, oh, I'm also going to get this police gun guards that I've always wanted. I'm going to get this now. It's going to be a reconciliation. But as you say, that's all in his made-up, deluded world, isn't it? It's not going to happen, any of this.
I think that that's a fair observation of Harry. I'm having people coming to me saying, okay, if this security scenario is a go, then surely the entire royal family will be there at Invictus to support Prince Harry next year. Absolutely not. Because if the rumors are true that Harry is developing a documentary to come out on the 30th anniversary of Diana's death, that would be happening a month after Invictus. Do you really think that Harry's family is going to stand there and support him, knowing that he's about to bring up all of this tragedy, all of this chaos, and in a way that they can't trust, because Harry's truth is actually quite often much different from the actual truth. I think Harry continues to jeopardize his relationship with the royal family. There's also a report out that Meghan is pitching to Netflix, similar to the Lifetime movies that actually exist today, her and Harry's love story.
Oh, God.
So scripted version of their love story, similar to the docuseries, but a scripted version of the love story. She thinks that it might inspire people to see their side of things and might root for them if they see it in, all glossy Hollywood, scripted and highly produced. But that would, again, villainize the royal family. Now, is Harry so stupid that he thinks he can continue to do these things and the royal family will inevitably allow him to come crawling back? He truly is. I know of people that have spoken to Harry that said Harry was shocked he did not comprehend that after his book, they would not want to speak to him anymore. He thought that they would just get over that betrayal. So we know that he's that dumb. Yeah. But I really do think that he continues to jeopardize his relationship with him. Even that Stephen Colbert, episode recently where he talked about kings. Everything he does, he needs to consider the consequences, and he just isn't there mentally.
And going forward for this year, he told us that he might be launching some sort of business interest, some new venture in the new year. So here we are in the new year. What do you think it might be? Is it to hook up with the Kardashians, to help Kim sell her underwear, skins or whatever it's called?
I hope that I don't have to witness that. That's an amount of therapy that ayahuasca could not help me with.
No, what do you think he does? He did mention, he said, I'm going to have a major announcement in the new year, a business venture. I mean, if it's nothing to do with the Kardashians, what the hell is it, do you think?
I would imagine that it's been pushed back, whatever this venture is, considering the fact that he's lost all of his public relations support. So I imagine that whatever the announcement is, it's been pushed back. The stories that are circulating here right now are how odd it was to see him on the slopes with Nacho in December, away from his family when Meghan's father was going through what he was going through. Here in the States, the divorce saga is really the narrative. When is it coming? Really? When is it happening? So I can't. The whispers over here are: is it something going on with these two? More than, I wonder what Prince Harry could be up to. I mean, I see for him, my prediction in 2026 is more Rent-A-Prince, Hilton Toronto appearances.
Yeah, more speeches to real estate people and that kind of thing. Just seeing for his supper, getting in a big appearance fee and bringing in money in that way. Because
real estate agents in Toronto want to listen to Prince Harry talk about the death of his mother. I mean, what a bizarre place for him to try to start bringing that stuff up. Not only does the man need some just real soul searching, but he needs some media training. Not every venue is the right venue to bring up Princess Diana and her death in a Paris tunnel. Such a bizarre place for him to go into that. For Meghan, I think that she's going to do the cookbook. I think she's going to try to use the cookbook to, I know we love this word when talking about Meghan Markle, rebrand herself. I think she'll use the book to go on Good Morning America and the Today Show, and try to do some of those just happy, vapid segments where she isn't asked any tough questions and can just giggle in front of a frying pan. I don't know. But we know that she's got I believe in the spring, she's got some new products coming out with As Ever. Which is probably on life support at this moment.
Let me ask you that before you go, Kinsey. This marmalade, Lady Marmalade, if you made more than $70 worth of purchases over the festive period, Meghan will give you a free jar of marmalade. Big deal. And according to the stories, she's been giving away thousands of free jars of marmalade, as if thousands of people spent over $70 on As Ever products over Christmas. I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure I believe that thousands of people spent that much money. Jan Muir in the Mail speculating that it's unlikely that As Ever will be here this time next year. I tend to agree with Jan. I don't see much of a future for this business, do you?
We're talking again on Thursday, and on Thursday I can bring you, I don't have them in front of me, but there are analytics out there of how many people visit asever.com.
Oh,
and that's not, we don't know how many people are converted to sales, but we can see the traffic of asever.com. And, I think she made a marmalade that people weren't interested in, and she was like, okay, let's give it away if they buy a bunch of stuff on the site for the holidays, to try to clear out the Christmas packages she put together, because she put a bunch of bundles together for the holiday season. So I think the objective was to clear out the bundles that, by the way, if you go look at Soho House's Instagram and Godmother's Instagram, where Meghan has pop-ups, they're not moving that product either. But no, I don't think that thousands. I mean, send them to the people that you had to give refunds to because the honey wasn't there. Send them to all the people that received refund emails over the last year. But I don't believe that that's true, that thousands of people are making those purchases.
Nor do I. Listen, bring those analytics on Thursday. We'll talk then. Great to hook up again, Kinsey, and once again, Happy New Year to you. The brilliant Kinsey Schofield there, who'll be back with me on Thursday at 9 p.m. for more news from Planet Harry and Meghan. Let's go to break now. When we come back, I've got calls, I've got messages, I've got WhatsApp voice notes. All human life is here. And at 10 p.m, Petri Hoskin will take over the helm of the Good Ship Talk, taking you through from 10 p.m. till 1 a.m. So much still to come. Stick around.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Liam in Folkestone. Hi, Liam.
Hello, Kev. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Merry New Year to you. Now, you're down at the front line of the migrant crisis.
Do you know how cold?
It's cold, I know that.
Do you know how cold it is down here at the minute?
Well, it's going to be -5 here in London, so I bet it's even colder down there. But anyway, you think about 30, maybe 40 people have come across today?
Yeah, maybe today. Basically, down here on the English Channel, it is absolutely freezing. I've been following 2 boats today, MCS Kafer and Border Force Hurricane.
And what are these boats? Are these the Border Force patrol boats?
Yeah, so basically, today, the very first illegal migrants have actually landed here down in Kent.
Of the year. But
must be maybe 20 or 30 or so are actually here already. The very first ones of 2026. And if you think it at like £40,000, that's 1.4 million. Right? Just for this one boat that has just come across the channel today.
Yeah.
So yes, today the illegals have started to come across. I've been watching it. I've been watching it since 12 o'clock.
And there's stories that were unconfirmed that some migrants trying to get across from France have been stricken with hypothermia because it's so cold.
It's just unbelievable, Kev. It's unbelievable because I know that living down here in Folkestone, living down here on the Kent coast, we listen to the sound of the air sea rescue helicopter and everything. It's relentless. So what's Keir Starmer like? Oh, I want to smash the gangs. He's not smashing anything, right? They say that they want to actually take their mobile phones from them nowadays. Like,
so,
what?
I mean, I'll tell you what we thought about that, Liam. It's like you're going to do that now. You didn't think about doing this at any earlier point.
Kev. Exactly.
I mean, you didn't think about taking the phones away, I don't know, 15 years ago. You've waited until now. And in any case, what the hell difference is it going to make?
I know. But either way, Kev, they're here now. The very first migrants have come across this year. There you go. I just thought I'd let you know.
Is it, though, Liam? Is that our conditions cold but calm?
Basically, MCS cable is out there. It's not calm in the channel. It's very, very choppy. Earlier on, there was one that actually left from Calais, and they, you know, they weren't. They were taken back to Calais, but one actually made it through, and MCS Caver and Border Force Hurricane actually went out. They picked it up, and for 3-4 hours. In the middle of the channel, picked it up and came back to Ramsgate round about 5 o'clock this afternoon. So
quite a busy day out there.
Yeah. So the very first migrants have come.
So yeah, but quite a bit. Another day, another year starts. Liam, always good to talk to you with your frontline reports. Good to speak. That's Liam in Folkestone. There you have it. The first migrants have come across the channel illegally. Our first migrants of the year have pitched up. Only about 40, we think. As I say, these figures are not officially confirmed, but it's very likely that's what's happened. Let's talk to Chris in County Durham. Hello, Chris.
How's it going, mate, Kev? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. You want to talk about Trump upsetting all the lefties? Let me know what you think.
Well, let's face facts. I mean, America kind of is the figurehead of the West. So if Trump is going to do something, the West is supposed to be in tow, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek bit in there.
Well, basically, what looks like what we have to do is just go along for the ride and just watch him do it and just agree with him, isn't it?
Well, if we had a better prime minister, they might be able to kick up a fuss. But let's face facts.
I mean, in the end, though,
who's about as much use as a chocolate fireguard.
Yeah. Do you care about international law? Do you know what? Do you care about international law? I don't.
Well,
I don't even really know what it is.
To be honest, I don't think anybody...
No, exactly. I'll tell you what international law is. International law is exactly what is expedient for the big, powerful nations on the face of the earth at any given point. They make up the rules as they go along. And then they go, oh, the international law is so important, the rule of international law. There aren't any rules. But if there are...
No, there is rules, Kev.
Are
There's
they?
rules.
Oh, yeah? Who wrote them down? Where are they written down? Where are they written down?
Yeah, as long as it's their rules and they've written them down.
Yeah, but they haven't written them down. They make them up as they go along.
Don't make any sense. Yeah.
I mean, there is no statute book. There's no international law statute book. They just make this stuff up as they go along. Now, Keir Starmer, you just know that with every fibre in his body, he wants to scream from the rooftops, oh, Donald Trump has broken international law. But he daren't do it because he doesn't want to risk upsetting Donald,
Oh,
right?
here's the problem. He tried to broker that tech deal. I mean, I work in technology. I'm a network engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel repercussions of certain things. And now we had a great big tech deal with the United States, and literally the entire UK tech industry picked up. And they were like, whoa, everything's going to be great. And then Starmer started playing his magic, and then Trump just went, nope, we're putting that on cold ice.
Exactly. Making up the rules as they go along. That's international law for you. International law isn't for normal citizens. It's for politicians. It's in their little playground, in their own bubble. They make up the rules as they go along. They say, oh, that breaks international law. Oh, wait a minute, that's within the realms of international law, and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean anything. But you just know that Keir Starmer wants to say that Donald Trump broke international law, but he hasn't got the guts. It's as simple as that. Chris, good to talk to you. Thanks for a good call. Chris in County Durham. Let's go to break. We'll take some more calls, some more messages, WhatsApp voice notes when we come back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. We've got some WhatsApp voice notes. This is Cindy on Starmer and Venezuela.
What Starmer needs to realize is that we in the United States are your allies, and he needs to stand up, have a backbone, and be strong, because we need to have a united front in front of the world. Right now, he's acting like a wet noodle. He needs to get it together and be a prime minister. Stand up and stand with Trump. This man was a dictator, and he needed to be taken out. A message needed to be sent to China that we're not going to put up with this. We are your allies. He needs to act like it.
That's Cindy. She's over in Michigan, making some good points, I think. Let's go to Tristan, and this is on Starmer and the year ahead.
Simple thing is, the idiot Starmer goes on about changes happening this year. No change is going to happen unless he does a number of things. First thing, he has to scrap net zero. That's obvious. It's destroying the economy. Simple as that. Then he has to obviously stop the boats, to stop actual immigration just completely saturating our country. Then he has to look about deporting foreign criminals. Then he has to look about slashing regulation. Then he has to look about doing certain tax cuts, and also absolutely slashing the inheritance tax for farmers. But of course, all of that he won't do. Even doing one of them things would make a difference. So it's just going to be a situation where it's just going to be managed decline.
Managed decline, yeah, or mismanaged decline. That'll be our year ahead under this useless leader that we've got. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Mark in Lincolnshire. Welcome, Mark. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Kev. Hope you had a good Christmas.
I did very much so. Yeah, I just got back from Amsterdam, so I spent a few days there for the New Year. But we're back to the grindstone now, and I was thrilled to learn today from our Prime Minister that the thing about Britishness, the thing about being in Britain is diversity is our strength. Do you agree with that, Mark?
100%, Kevin.
I'm so proud of diversity. I'm so proud. Proud of everything, isn't he?
All diversity is, Kev, is division.
Well, yeah.
That's all it is. It's ridiculous. Diversity is our strength. It literally isn't, Kev. Diversity is the state's strength, because what diversity does, it divides people. It turns you into ethnic enclaves who are basically all fighting and arguing amongst themselves.
Yeah.
So you're not united together in any sense against, surprise, surprise, the government. So the diversity is our strength is absolute garbage. I mean, honestly, Kev, it's the reason, it's one of the reasons that I became, I went from being a civic nationalist to an ethno-nationalist, because I've had enough of it. And this absolute claptrap where he's saying, Britain has always been a diverse country. What a load of crap. If you go back pre-1950, this country
wasn't very diverse. No, agreed. I mean, look, my feeling about this, Mark, is in principle, I'm very much in favour of a diverse, multicultural country. I'm in favour of it in principle. But we are looking right now, and have been now for quite a few years, at the results of this alleged diversity that is our strength. And is it causing happiness and harmony around the country? Is it hell? We have never been more divided. We have never been in more of a parlous social, cultural state. So this diversity is our strength. I like the idea of diversity, but to say it's Britain's strength is palpably not true.
Well, that was exactly the point I was making, Kev. It's 100% not our strength. It's their strength. It's the state's strength.
Yeah, that's
because it keeps everybody divided. Because at the end of the day, by the way, as far as ethno-nationalism goes, I'm of the variety, the flavour that wants about a 90-10 split. In other words, I only really want it to go back to how it was in 1990, which isn't that long ago. I have no problem with diversity. I have no problem with people of, different colours, different cultures. I have no issue with that. What I have a massive issue with is where the English are sat at 65% majority in their own country, which means in 15 years, this will no longer be England, because the English will then be a minority. And I have a real problem with that, because that's not acceptable to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, Mark, whether I would go down that road of giving numbers, percentages where diversity is going to work, 90% British, 10% foreign or something like that. I'm not sure if I would go down that road. Because I don't really know. But what I do think we need is leaders, and indeed citizens, who've got the guts to face up to the reality. It's very easy for King Charles as a great diversity is our strength. Yeah, great thing to say. Now we've got Starmer, diversity is our strength. It's just a cliche that sounds good. But what we need is a leader, and for that matter, a damn king, who faces up to the reality that diversity doesn't look like it is our strength right now. It looks like it's our weakness. Let's not hide behind a cliche. Let's get real and confront our problems, our multicultural problems. I'm not saying we get rid of multicultural Britain. I'm saying we examine it and we have an honest appraisal, rather than hiding behind the cloak, the veil, the shadow of this cliche, diversity is our strength. It's not good enough.
I don't think we have time for that anymore, Kev. I think that was something that should have been done 20 years ago. Or certainly before the last 10 years when mass immigration really started kicking in.
Well, it hasn't started. No one has ever confronted this.
The other thing as well, Kev, which I've started noticing, and I've been going back through some of our recent political history, and they keep talking about immigration because the birth rate's very low. I've never heard a single politician from either party ever talk about policy that would improve the native birth rate. Not a single bloody policy. In fact, quite the opposite. All they do is make easier access to abortion, They tax the living the hell out of families so that they can't, so they're not willing to have more kids, and et cetera, et cetera. And what they do is they go, let's have more immigrants because we need them, because we can't fill all these
Mark, they've just lifted the two-child benefit cap, so there'll be families all over the country having 12 kids now, so they can get lots of benefits.
Yeah, but who does that benefit, Kev?
No, it doesn't. No one really. No one really.
The reality is, and you personally might not like this, Kev, but the reality is that you have people that have come into the country that have come from very, very, very poor backgrounds, very poor countries, that are quite happy, and you know this yourself if you're honest, quite happy living 10 to a three-bedroomed house. We know this happens. It's quite regular. It's quite a common thing.
Yeah.
So the point I'm making is, lifting the two-child benefit cap, that only really improves them, basically pays for their kids more, because...
Yeah, no, it's look, it benefits people with 10 kids. It doesn't benefit anyone else. It certainly doesn't benefit those of us who have to pay for it. Listen, Mark, interesting call. I've got to move on, though, but always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. Mark in Lincolnshire. We're going to go to break now, and when we come back, it's time for Georgina in London, who's waiting on the line, so we'll talk to her next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Just a few minutes to go, then I'll hand over the helm of the good ship Talk to the brilliant Petri Hoskin. He'll take you through till 1 a.m. In the meantime, let's go back to the phones and let's talk to the great Georgina in London. Happy New Year to you, Georgina.
Happy New Year to you, Kevin. It's lovely to have you back. I watched Keir Starmer saying that he was going to be Prime Minister this time next year, and honestly, it put the fear of God into me. You know, I mean, let's face it, we know
that the vote when he was elected was a democratic vote, but it was a one-horse race, Kevin. Even a three-legged horse would win a one-horse race, and that's exactly what Keir Starmer is.
The loveless landslide, wasn't it? It was a vote against the Tories, not a vote for Labour. And Starmer constantly deludes himself it wasn't that. He deludes himself that he was swept to glory because he's so popular and Labour are so loved. Absolute rubbish.
Well, it should be swept under the carpet because, let's face it, this man has promised to be all things to all people, and he's U-turned on every promise he's ever made. He's a Prime Minister who pleads ignorance on important issues when he's caught out blatantly in his lies. He ignores the issues of safety and security of our country, Kevin, and our people, and he's just showing himself up to be either a blatant liar or not having done his due diligence. Either way, he's totally incompetent. He's a man who thinks it right when our veterans are sleeping in the snow, whilst he puts illegal migrants in luxury accommodation, giving them perks that they haven't earned and they have no right to. Our young British population, Kevin, are being given no motivation or opportunities to get out into the working environment and earn themselves a crust. He wants the whole of Britain to be on welfare. He wants us to be a welfare state, whilst our taxes are raised to extortionate levels to maintain his unsustainable overspending. But he finds millions of pounds for his ridiculous ideologies whilst allowing our defences and our very infrastructure to decay. And he's made this country dependent on others for our food, for our power, leaving our country at the mercy of others while stabbing our farmers and our British industry in the back.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying to look at the panorama of what this guy is doing. He is a slave to his own ideology. He's a slave to his left-wing backbenchers, and he's doing things that are harmful to this country, to the citizens of this country.
Kevin, you're absolutely spot on, and this is why I love listening to you. I mean, how is our economy ever going to improve when we're not investing in our own country? You can't be forever taking from the belly of Britain and not putting anything back and expecting economic growth. It doesn't work that way. He's not a Labour man working for the working man. He's a communist working for and on behalf of his communist regime, taking away our voice, our movement, our democratic right to vote. He wants us to have nothing and be happy. He wants us subservient.
Yeah, well, if we've got nothing, we won't be happy. Georgina, I've got to move on, but it's great to hook up with you again and keep on calling. I know you will. Thanks for another brilliant call, and once again, a very happy New Year to you. The excellent Georgina in London, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I've got a few messages I should ring out. I've got lots, but I won't be able to read them all out. Benjamin says, talking about smash the gangs. Benjamin said, Starmer couldn't smash an avocado. It's about right. Janice in Staffordshire said there's no such thing as international law. That's what I say. They make it up as they go along. International law. What is it? What is it? You know, it's just whatever people decide is expedient to them at any given point, the big nations especially. So if it was, say, Peru that invaded Venezuela, let me tell you, the weight of the world will be on their shoulders. It's like, how dare you, this is outrageous, you've broken international law. Because it's America, well, we're just looking into it. We're not sure whether international law has been broken or not. You know, America's a powerful country. America won't have broken international law, trust me. Let's have a look. Brian says, Starmer says it's in the national interest to stop illegal immigrants crossing the channel, not snuggling up to the EU. Oh, I see what you mean, yeah. Starmer, this is a message to Starmer. Hey, Starmer, it's in the national interest to stop illegal immigrants crossing the channel, not snuggling up to the EU. Exactly. And Joanna from Salisbury says, wow, can we send some of our prisoners to Abu Hamza's jail over there in America? A real prison. It's a serious prison, I'll tell you. Ed Miliband takes credit. This is, oh no, there's no name on that, so I won't bother with that. This is Alan says, Alan in Yorkshire, small boat crossings could be stopped tomorrow. Declare a state of emergency. Tell the Ministry of Defence and the Navy that no small boats will enter our waters. Full stop. Turn them back or transport them back to a French beach. Yeah, you'll find that will break international law, Alan. But it could be stopped. The migrant crisis could be solved if we had a government with any resolve, which they don't. Chris says, just tell the British vigilantes to stand knee-deep in the sea, as the French police union said they can't stop migrants when they get into the sea. It doesn't need to be knee-deep, it's just ankle-deep. Once you get into the sea, you're home and dry. The gendarmes won't touch you. Let's quickly, shall we take a call from Norrie in Glasgow. Hi, Norrie.
Good evening, Kev. How you doing, Bob?
I'm all right. Happy New Year to you. What would you like to say, mate? Very quickly.